Hello and welcome to Walls Part 3. And I am not going to dilly-dally. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So this is where we last left off. And what we want to do now is go ahead and put in some molding. Let me adjust there we are. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is let's go over here and let's wind up back in our top plan view. Right, so now we're in top plan view and you can see that this is your door opening and that's your window opening. Since we're going to be working in molding, we're going to want to change our active class, and let's come on down here and select molding. Alright, all of our molding is going to be 1 inch thick, and the first thing that I want to do is see if I can't put a piece of molding across the bottom edge of the window. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle. And I made sure that I pinned it against the figure. That's going to be important. The rest of it I can adjust here in a minute. So now I see my molding with my new fill color of brown, and I can go to my object info browser here, and I can make this a width, as it says on the PDF, page 2, of 4 feet 4 inches. I'm also going to make it a height of 1 inch. 1 inch. Now again, making sure that I'm pinned at least on one of these top points that will hold it against the figure. 1 inch. Right? So now I have this, and I'll zoom in just a little bit so that we can look at it and see. And I now have a rectangle that is pinned against this figure. They're touching each other but not overlapping, right? But I can see that I am not centered on the window. If I were to come over with my molding that I just drew selected, and I were to slide it along, I get a smart cursor setting right here that says it's the midpoint of this opening. There's another smart cursor setting that says midpoint. So now this is evenly set across, or evenly distributed across this window. Now that molding is 4 inches high, so I go to model, extrude, and instead of 5 feet I'm going to make that 4 inches, and I say OK. Now it is also 18 inches off of the ground. 18 inches off of the ground, so I change my bottom Z coordinate to 18 inches off of the ground, and I say enter. Now let's just zoom out and do a little fly around to make sure that I have placed that correctly. And indeed I have not. I have somehow messed that up. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not 18 inches. Yes. It has a bottom Z of 1 foot 8 inches. There's a big difference. There it is. So now I can see that my molding is perfectly aligned, right, with the bottom of my window opening. Let's go back to the top plan view, and now what I want to do is I want to put the pieces that go along the side here. Right? To put in these pieces, I'm again going to make sure that I'm on my molding class, go to my rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw a rectangle that's just that big. And the smart cursor settings should allow me to do that easily. It's 3 inches wide by 1 inch high. Now, how tall does that need to be? I need to do a model, extrude, and I will extrude that by 5 feet and say OK. Now, how high does it need to be? Let's see, if the bottom opening of my window is 2 feet and this piece of molding is flush to the bottom edge of the window, this bottom edge is going to also want to be at 2 feet. And let's say OK. Again, I'm going to zoom out a little bit since I'm working in plan view, and I just want to see that my molding is lining up correctly with the top of the window, which it looks to be, and that it's flush along the edge here, And again, I'll go back to top plan view. I'm going to do that one more time. Let's draw a rectangle from this corner to this corner. And I can see in object info that that's already 3 inches by 1 inch. I'm going to go to my model. I'm going to extrude. I can extrude it also by 5 feet. And I need to set its bottom Z to 2 feet. And say OK. And real quick, even though I'm positive I did this right, let's just make sure. So we do a little fly around, and I've got a little bit of molding here. Okay, I have one last piece of molding that I need to put in place, and that's the piece that goes across the top. Let's go back to my top plan view. Top plan. Right? And I'm going to select my rectangle tool, and I can draw a rectangle that is exactly the same size as that first piece of molding that I drew. Right? So it's 4 feet 4 by 1 inch. Yes. And I'm going to extrude that. I will extrude that. My drawing says that it's only 3 inches high. Say OK. But this time it's going to have a bottom Z of the height of the window plus the height that it's off the ground. And that's a total of 7 feet. 7 feet off of the ground. Feet. And let's say OK. Now let's back up. We're going to do a little fly around. We're going to see what we've got. And it looks like I'm doing pretty good. Now, once again, I'll go back to top plan view, and I want to put in a piece of baseboard here. Let's go back. Let's fly around. When I say baseboard molding, the baseboard is what runs along the bottom of the wall. It's the transition between the wall and the floor. And we're going to put in 2 pieces of that. So let's go back over to our top plan view, and I will do a rectangle. And I'll come all the way across to here. And if I hover over that point for a minute, you'll see the little red dot that appears. It will allow me to draw precisely to that point. My height I missed, right? So I need to make that 1 inch. Again, making sure that I am pinned up against the wall. 1 inch. All right. Now if I look at my drawing, model, extrude, I'm going to extrude this one by 5 inches and say OK. I also have another piece of baseboard molding that goes from here to here, and again if I hover over that until I get the little red dot, and it looks like I got lucky. It's exactly 2 feet by 1 inch. If I needed to change it, I could change it in object info. I'm going to go to my model, extrude, and I am going to extrude that also by 5 inches and say OK. Now if I do a fly around, I should have baseboard molding at the bottom of my wall. It's starting to look a little bit like a wall. I will come back in just a moment and we will go ahead and do the door trim, but we do the door trim in exactly the same way we did the window trim. Actually, no. Let's just go ahead and no, I'll pause for now. I'll come back to it.